Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to make this brass hammer kit from Penn State Industries, and all you're going to need is the kit from Penn State, a 1/2 inch drill bit, and a blank that's about 1.5 by 1.5 by 7 inches long, roughly. It's really easy to make, no bushings required, and it's a pretty nice little hammer. So stay tuned, let's see how it's done. I have this very interesting piece of white oak that a gentleman from church gave me. I've been using for pen blanks, but look at that grain. Look how strange that grain is. It's not quite curly, but or burl, but it's got a very interesting grain. So that's what we're going to make this handle out of. So we're going to rough out a blank roughly 1.5 inches. We'll just go with 2. Rough out a blank about 2 by 2 by 6 inches long eventually. Alright, this one will be our handle, and actually for this one we can cast that with some epoxy and make some hybrid blanks with that. So next I'm just going to cut it to length that's 6.5 inches, and then we'll mount it on the lathe. Our first step is to drill a 1/2 inch diameter hole 2 3/4 inches deep. And I've got a mark here on my drill bit for the depth. I'm going to reinforce that with a piece of blue tape so that I make sure I see it. And now we'll just drill it. I've got the lathe slowed down to 500 RPMs. Now we'll just drill this 1/2 inch hole 2 3/4 inches deep. I think I'm going to copy the handle that's on this saw, dovetail saw, which is about 1.25 inches in diameter at the biggest point. So I'm just going to turn the whole thing down to 1.25 inches solid, and then we'll taper and shape. Alright, I've got it turned down to roughly 1.25 inches. Now I need to put a 3/4 inch diameter tenon, a 1/4 inch deep. So we need to put a tenon there, 3/4 inch. And I'm going to use my 3/4 inch wrench as a guide. I think I'm going to leave it there, and I'll sand it because that tenon has to fit in this
hammer spot. Okay, it's going to be my handle. Now I'm just going to shape it, leave it about 1.25 inches down here, and we'll take it down to roughly 1 inch at this end. Take it down to, yeah, 1 inch or 7/8 at this end. Pretty much have my shape now. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the sanding, and then I'll flip it around. I left that tenon long so I could chuck it back up and finish off the handle. Look at this grain. This is just beautiful. I'm going to wet it with a little denatured alcohol. Well, that is really going to be a pretty handle. Okay, I've taken it off and I've reversed it. That tenon that I cut on this end, I've got to use it to chuck it up. And I'm just going to sand off this other end. For a finish to my handle, I'm going to wipe on some poly. Just a wipe on poly. Should bring out the grain and protect it. We'll let that dry. Well, the last order of business is to assemble the thing. And this is made, it's got a 1/2 inch screw. Remember, we drilled a 1/2 inch hole. And it's actually, I'm a little concerned because this 1/2 inch hole's got a little bit of play in it. I mean, I would have thought it would have been a tighter fit than that. It says to put epoxy around it. But in essence, it's like this. We screw this together. Then we put epoxy on the screw, and then we put it all into place like this. But again, I think it seems to fit a little loose. So what I'm going to do as I mix my epoxy, I'm going to mix in what they call some micro balloons. They use this in RC modeling when you're building RCs to make fillets up around wings or something. It adds some strength. As you can see here, it's light, it's strong, and you can mix it with epoxy or resin. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mix some of it with my epoxy, and it'll act as a filler as we assemble this. If you've never used the micro balloons, all you do is add a little to your epoxy. Doesn't take much at all. And then mix your epoxy as you always do. I use this as a gauge to be able to tell how far to put. Trying to put it down at the lower end so it doesn't squeeze out to the top. I'm going to put just a little bit
around the top. And we just
press it in real good. Get the excess off. Get the excess off with some denatured alcohol. We'll let that dry.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hey, we appreciate it. Kind of be on the look. We're going to be doing other things like this. You know, there's a salt and pepper shaker grinder kit that we're going to be making in the near future at the request of one of our viewers. We'll talk more about that later. And the blank that we designed a few weeks ago, we are going to make that blank and put it on that Oxford kit like we said. But I ran out of Oxford kits. And when I get those kits in, we'll make that blank that we designed a few weeks ago, and then we'll put it on that Oxford kit, and we'll evaluate that Oxford kit as well and show you how that kit goes together. But we appreciate you watching. Share this video, like this video, subscribe if you hadn't, tell your friends about us, and send people our way. We appreciate it, and leave me some comments. Like the interaction. Well, until next time, everyone, have a great week and be safe.